Hi everybody, it's Stephen Brooke and welcome to Architectural Photography and Composition. If you are new to the channel, welcome, and I hope you'll subscribe so that you can see all the other videos and the new ones as they come up. The videos are free and I'll talk about how to help support the site at the end of this video. In a previous video we talked about photographing on a bad weather day. It's not ideal, no one wants to do it, but if you're away from your home base and you're stuck doing it, there are some ways that you can kind of save your job and save the day. I want to talk about another kind of abnormal situation to how we normally work, and called this photographing against the sun. Here's what I mean by that. Usually we photograph with the sun at our back or the sun to the side. So again, this is not time of day, but if we use military terms, everywhere the sun is anywhere from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock. In other words, it's behind the front plane of the lens. It's either to our side, to the back, or somewhere in between. What it's not in front of the lens. Now, you can do this usually with landscape. This is the sun is coming, let's say from about 7 o'clock. You can see my shadows in here, nice definition. Same thing with this house over here. I've got the sun coming this way. I've got nice light to dark, light to dark, light to dark. So that's normally how we're going to photograph, with the sun either at our back or at our side. But if you shoot what I'm saying against the grain of the sun, in other words, with the sun more or less in front of your camera, you can produce really dramatic images. Now, let's take a look at some paintings that are done like that. And of course, when you're painting or engraving, blown out skies you can control, which we can't necessarily do photographically, but we're going to go into how you can control that. But if you look at Frederick Evans Church's Jerusalem from the Mount of Olives, this is a view. He's on the Mount of Olives looking at Jerusalem, looking into the setting sun. But what I want to show you, what I want to call your attention to, is the shadows are coming towards the viewer. In other words, they're coming towards you. And also, if you look at the edges of the foliage, rather than the light being here, the light is just at the edges of this foliage, which gives it a real dramatic highlight, and you get a wonderful play of dark to light, dark to light. Now, in Giorgio de Chirico's Piazza d'Italia, we've looked at him before when we looked at some other aspects of composition, and we know that de Chirico uses exaggerated perspective, but he's often on axis. He uses full height verticals to balance that out. But in this case, and in a number of cases, notice where his sun is. It's coming from this side, it's hidden by this building, and you get these long dramatic shadows in the courtyard here, and those shadows help to this exaggerated perspective. It enhances that, and also you have this huge expansive courtyard, and it's broken up by these deep shadows. Hugh Ferris is an architect and illustrator who we've looked at particularly when we looked at black and white, because Hugh Ferris's black and white drawings and engravings are just masterful. But if you look at this view of New York City, his sun is somewhere back here, so all the buildings are lit on the side, but the facade that's facing us is in shadow. So you get this wonderful play of dark to light, dark to light, dark to light, and you get this rhythm going all the way down the street. And again, as we've discussed before, look at how Hugh Ferris uses full height verticals in shadow to balance and frame his composition. So we've looked at this graphic before, and if you don't have it, I suggest maybe pausing and freeze framing and screen capturing this. It shows where the sun is going to be at any time of year. In particular for us, we've talked about the difficulty in shooting a north elevation in the winter months, because in the winter the sun is going to rise and set south of the east-west line. So if you are photographing a north elevation, the sun very quickly is going to be up in your eyes. So if you need to shoot a north elevation, you need to be there really early in the morning or very late in the afternoon. So, and another app to have is Sun Surveyor Lite. It tells you the key times of day, blue hour, sunrise, golden hour, solar noon, what have you. It also shows you the sun angles. So if you are thinking about, I have a north elevation, when is the sun going to be far enough away so that it's not going to be in my eyes, Sun Surveyor Lite, for wherever you are, whenever you are, will give you that information. I live with this app. So shooting into the sun, either very early in the morning or late in the afternoon, you get this wonderful dramatic sense of depth and surface articulation. Note, I am here, this is a really early morning shot in LA. The sun is still back here. It hasn't come around yet, so it's not in my eyes. And so these are east elevations that are in full sun, and the north elevations are in deep shadow. And I get this wonderful articulation on the building that I wouldn't get if I had the sun hitting both the north and the east elevations. This would tend to flatten out. Here's another building in that area. This is shot late in the afternoon. Again, the sun is not in my eye. And the west elevations are in full sun, and the north elevations again are in deep shadow, giving me a wonderful sense of depth, which is one of the design features of this building. This is early morning, this is in Maryland. Early morning sun emphasizes, obviously it emphasizes the volume of the house like it did here, but what an early morning sun will do, it will define the mountains and it will give you a wonderful sense of atmospheric perspective, which will give you a terrific sense of depth going from near to far. In this Roman streetscape, this is 5 a.m., 5:45 a.m. It's mid-June, and I'm looking east. Now, in mid-June, the sun is going to rise north of the east-west line. So really early in the morning, I'm going to get light on these north elevations. And the west elevations here are going to be in shadow. Again, I'm going to get a wonderful sense of depth here. I go from light to dark, light to dark, light to dark. So the articulation on the building is really brought out by the time of day that I've done this shot. Now, this is a really minimalist design studio that Suzanne Martinson did. The sun is over here, and these are unarticulated walls. It's just masonry. I mean, it's just stucco. So without the shadow, this could get to be a pretty boring shot. But what I've done is I've taken the time of day where the sun is coming this way. Here's the shadow of the roof line. This is the overhang here. Here's a little bit of the shadow of that overhang. And then here is the rest of my shadow. And this kind of sharp angular shadow really plays along with the kind of clean and minimalist design of this studio. Now, if you go out and do this, you're going to find that your sky still might get burned out. You might get a lot of glare, and there's a way around that. This is a shot without a polarizer. My sun is coming this way. I'm lit here, this is in shadow, but look, the sky doesn't look very good, and I'm getting this glare over here. With a polarizer, the sky is darkened, just get this beautiful blue, and note over here, where I had this glare, now I've got the glare taken off, and I've got nice, really rich greens. One of the things that I do when I'm shooting landscape, I will look for a chance to get a shot where the landscape is backlit, because I can get a quality that I can't get with the direct sun. And this is a really good example. Here I've got these prickly pear cactuses. The light is coming this way. Notice I've cut this shot so that I don't see the sky. The sky's probably at this point is too bright for me, and even with a polarizer I might not be able to get this to look good. But look what happens with the sun coming from behind. The front of the prickly pear is in shadow, and the thorns are lit and show up against this almost black background, and you really can feel how sharp and how pointed they are in a way that you wouldn't get that if the sun was coming from this direction, lighting the thorns and lighting the face of the prickly palm. So very often I will look for that, usually it's early morning when I'm doing landscape. Here's another one. This is the Hinnom Valley it's 5 a.m. in Jerusalem. The sun is over here coming this way, and again, as in the Hugh Newell Jacobson house, notice how that early morning sun defines every part of the hills, of the mountains in the back, and I have this wonderful atmospheric perspective which gives me a terrific sense of depth. And again, let's go back to one of the prime rules. We're dealing with a three-dimensional world as architectural photographers, whether we're doing landscape or exteriors, and we are converting that three-dimensional world into 2 dimensions, and anything that can increase that sense of depth makes our photographs that much more interesting. Here, this is in the Hudson Valley. The sun is over here coming this way, and if you look here, I have this goes from dark to light, dark to light, dark to light, rather than with the sun coming this way where all of these elements are lit. And what I had in mind, of course, is this painting by Corot, which we've looked at before. And here he's got an afternoon painting. It goes from light to dark, light to dark. The dark facades are facing us. And note also that his full height vertical and the foreground are in shadow, which frame the overall composition. And so I've done that same thing. I've used the same compositional formula with the sun coming this way. My tree is in silhouette. I've got a nice deep shadow, and I have this little L formation to frame the rest of my landscape. You can also take advantage of the light coming into the room, in other words, coming at you when you're doing interiors. And it's particularly valuable if you want to show the indoor-outdoor relationship of a space. The architects designed this knowing that there would be this beautiful light coming into the room. Now, if you've done this kind of work before, you know this is difficult because you have real extremes of contrast. That means inevitably you're going to have to make multiple exposures and layer them. So when you take a shot like this, keep in mind you're going to have to do that, and know that you're going to have to layer. So as you make each image, starting from the darkest one to the lightest, you look and make sure that in most of those images have exactly the information that you want covered. For the room, for these hot spots coming in. Edward Hopper is a wonderful painter to look at. Many of his shots, the light itself is the animating element. That the light is the star of the show. The woman in this case who's obviously looking out at the window, but this light is just pouring in. Now, Hopper can paint that without having to do the kind of things we need to do, but we can emulate that style by layering. One single shot is not going to get this. Either the room is going to be too dark or these are going to be all burned out. So again, so that you see highlights with detail and that the windows are not burned out, you need to pre-visualize the need to layer a shot like this. So let's review the 4 main considerations for photographing against the sun. 1, you need to shoot early morning or late afternoon so that 2, the sun is not shining into your lens. This is what happens if you do that. Here's a north elevation photograph too late in a winter morning. The sky is burned out and you can try to layer something like that, but it's not going to look very good. Worse, when you've got that sun coming into your lens, you're going to get this halation and it also flattens out. Now in the movies, they will allow some halation. You'll see as the camera pans, all of a sudden you'll see this streak of light coming in. That may be okay for the movies, but it really isn't very good for the kind of architectural photography we're doing. Number 3, use a polarizing filter to reduce or eliminate the glare. You'll probably get some. Polarizer is great. And pre-visualize the need for layering, especially for interior photographs. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel and haven't subscribed, please do. If you've been around for a while and you haven't subscribed, come on, subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. Now, you can support this site by purchasing a copy of Architectural Photography and Composition. I think this is the one book you need if you are just starting out, or if you do other kinds of photography and would like to add architecture to your arsenal of what you do, to your income stream. This book has everything that you need for a bargain of a price. And take a moment and you can see what others have thought about the book. One of them was from somebody who was a retired photographer and wrote a note and said, "This is the book I wish I had had when I started out." Now, this book, you will guide yourself. It will take you through everything that you need to know. But if you would prefer to have a guided, structured course on architectural photography and composition, then I really recommend you do Fundamentals of Architectural Photography and Composition. It's a Udemy course. You can get it here. If you'll please use this link, and you can see what some of the people have said about the course, that this is maybe arguably the best course in architectural photography that you're going to find anywhere. And again, it's available at a bargain price. So I encourage you, if you are new, just starting out, a professional that wants to kind of fine-tune his or her work, either the book or the course, I think, are just what you need. So thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.